Hello and welcome to our second podcast of the week. We are finishing up Isaiah chapter 41 today. So we've done two Hebrew videos this week, and this is the second podcast. On Tuesday, we were in week 3 of our trek through Isaiah 40 through 66. In week 3, earlier this week, we ended up with verse 20. So we want to do verses 21 through 29 and finish up the chapter 41 of Isaiah. Now, the general theme of these verses has to do with idols and how foolish idols are. I might pause here to talk a little bit about the developing precision of understanding within the pages of Scriptures. So let me just start with 1 Corinthians 10, where Paul is discussing the question of whether one should eat meat that has been offered at a pagan temple. And Paul basically says that there are demons in these temples. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was in high school, and I learned about Zeus and Athena and all these gods and goddesses, I thought it was like a game. Nobody believes in that. I mean, that's stupid. I mean, the idea that Zeus would do this or Zeus would do that. Nobody believes that. And so it's always kind of a fun kind of thing. But Paul, once upon a time, made me understand that there were demonic forces in these temples. So there wasn't just, this is the way I would put it, there wasn't just one demon named Athena. There were probably lots of demons, probably one or more in all the different temples of Athena in the ancient world. It wasn't simply just an innocuous little, oh, aren't they stupid? But Paul sees spiritual forces as being in these other temples, which is one of the reasons why he says, yeah, don't eat there, okay? That's just not a good example. Now, when we go back to the Old Testament, you won't find the word demons per se. The Israelites called these other spiritual forces gods. So they called Baal a god. They called Dagon a god. They called Marduk a god. They called Molech a god. They called Asherah a goddess, and so forth. And so it puts it into perspective. You will have no other gods before me. There were other gods that they believed existed. We would call them demons. But they believed in other spiritual powers. And so we call that henotheism, that in terms of ancient Israel during the kingdom, probably there was a belief that other gods existed, but they didn't believe that they were legitimate objects of worship. Only Yahweh should be worshipped by Israelites, and Yahweh was the most powerful of all these spiritual powers, and none of these other spiritual powers should be worshipped or were legitimate. We call that monolatry. You should only worship one God, even though there are other gods on the market. And henotheism, there's only one legitimate God, even though there are other gods on the market. So what is striking here, now again, I would call them, as a Christian, I would call those demonic forces rather than truly gods. But although I think is it Isaiah or Psalm 82, you might read Psalm 82, and it may read differently to you once you've thought about that. But what is striking about this section of Isaiah is the fact that this section of Isaiah really doesn't have any room for other deities. In fact, Isaiah 45 is kind of the monotheism capital of the Bible. We'll get there, Lord willing. But we see some of that here in Isaiah 41 as well, because the prophet really doesn't, he kind of mocks, it seems to me, I pick up a little mocking here, of the idea that there are other gods. Come on, do a prophecy for me, God. Okay, you're God. Okay, say something, anything, Can you even say dad? You can't. No, you can't. You don't exist. Oh, really? Okay, let's just throw the wood away. Or better yet, let's burn it in the fire so we can keep warm. And so there's kind of that, I begin to get a little bit of that mocking tone in the last part of Isaiah 41. Well, let's dig in with verse 21. So basically, present your case, your reeve, your law court case. Present your case, says Yahweh. Bring forth your your strong arguments, says the king of Jacob. So you say there's another God out there. Okay, well, let's hear from this other God. Bring in, Exhibit A, this piece of wood shaped like, is that a duck? Okay, bring in this other God. Let's see what they have to say. Okay, verse 22. Okay, now, so-called God, go ahead, bring forth and show to us, okay, what has already happened. Tell us the past. Will you tell us what has already happened? What are the former things? Oh, okay, wait. What, behold, what they were, and let them show that we may consider in our heart and know what happened with those things. Or how about this? Declare to us things to come. Okay, we're waiting. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to wait. Tell us something from the future. Crickets. Oh, okay. Well, tell us something from the past. You have something to say? Anything? Oh, okay. Nothing from the future or the past. That's interesting. I didn't hear anything from you. Okay, so this is kind of a mocking tone, it seems to me, of these other gods. Let me try again. Maybe they were, thinking about something else. Verse 23. Show us things that are to come hereafter, that we may know that you are gods. Nothing? Okay. Well, yes. Do something good. Oh, wait a minute. Even do something evil. Make us really angry with you because of something that you do that's evil, and we'll see it together. Go ahead. Did he move? Did you see anything? Oh, well, you're not much of a god, are you? This feels kind of provoking to me. Basically saying, why do you trust in other gods? Or why would you even be tempted to trust with other gods? Verse 24, indeed, you are nothing. Yeah, so verse 24, indeed, you are nothing. Your work is nothing. And an abomination is the one who chooses with you. I assume this is saying that you are the abomination, although you could say that I suppose you could try to argue that the idol is the abomination, but I think it's basically saying it's an abomination, the one who chooses with you, that is the idol. So basically, don't do it. Idols don't exist. They don't work. They can't tell you anything. They can't do anything. Why would you? Why? I go with Yahweh. He does stuff. Now, verse 25 then turns to a theme that we've already heard, and we're going to see it again big when we get to chapter 45, I believe it is, and that is the allusion to Cyrus, king of Persia. Verse 25, I have raised up one from the north, and he will come from the rising of the sun, and he will call on my name, and he will come against princes, as though he was coming against mud, and as the potter treads clay. So basically, you people who have opposed Israel, the Babylonians and so forth, you don't stand a chance against Cyrus because God is with him. Now, I don't know, we don't really have any evidence that Cyrus became a Yahweh worshiper. I really don't think, there aren't really that many scholars that think that Cyrus actually converted to Judaism, or that Cyrus actually worshiped Yahweh. Cyrus is rather the type of the pagan or the non-believer that God uses. Is the way it would seem to be. Although I'm sure that Cyrus respected Yahweh. So even if Cyrus didn't worship Yahweh, he probably respected Yahweh. I think that's a very plausible position to take. But basically, he's coming from the north. Now, you might say, well, wait a minute, Persia, that's in the east. Well, if you come around and down, as Abraham did, you come from, when you're coming from the east, eventually you hit Syria and head south. So he comes from the north eventually. And he will come from the rising of the sun, which is in the east. And he's basically going to pound you princes. Don't stand in his way. You don't stand a chance. He's going to be like clay. You're putty in his hands. And so here comes Cyrus. Verse 26. So who has declared from the beginning that we may know, and the former times that we may say he's right? Who's done that? Surely there is no one. So no one but Yahweh, in other words. These other, priests of other gods, they've not predicted that these things would happen. There is no one who shows these things. There is no one. who declares, surely there is no one who hears your words. These idols, they don't exist. They're nothing. But who is the first to tell of these things? Verse 27. At the first to Zion, look, there they are. And to Jerusalem, I will give the one who gives good tidings. So Yahweh's he's going to tell about it. Yahweh's going to tell him who it is that this is all going to happen. Yahweh's the one who speaks the truth. Yahweh's the one who knows. Yahweh is the one who knows the end from the beginning. None of these other gods are reliable or dependable. Trust Yahweh instead. Verse 28. For I looked, and there was no man, and I looked, and there was no counselor. And when I asked who could answer a word, nada. So again, these other gods, they're nothing. Nothing to depend on, nothing to rely on. Verse 29. Indeed, they are all worthless. They're nothing. Their works are like wind. Oh, did you hear something? Well, it's gone now. They are confusion. Confusion, their molded images are. So why bank on that? Why bank on other idols? Why bank on other gods? They're all useless and they're all pointless. And thus comes to a close Isaiah chapter 41 for this week 3 of our journey through Isaiah 40 through 66.